My dad, as you know, he was born in Zanzibar, and came from a family of humble beginnings, one of 6 children. And it was through his immigration back in the early 80s. We had immigrated from Dar es Salaam to the U.S. For a better quality of life, and is how his journey then evolved into moving from New York to Florida.
I first met Mehebub Manji when I used to live in New York. I barely knew him. I knew his son, Yusuf, because we used to play volleyball together. But I barely knew Mehebub himself. When I moved here in 1997, I was introduced to him by Marhum Fazil. And Marhum Mehebub wanted to, be part of this community. He wanted to, he had a vision for this community, and he wanted to, he felt very strongly about it.
So my father strongly believed in the values of community service, and also in preserving values that we have been blessed with from the Ahlul-bayt. And giving back to the community was his leadership style, to bring everyone together, and a place where that commonality can be shared on a day-to-day basis within the community that was very small, but had the vision knowing that Florida, with not only the economic trends, but the social trends, where it would be, and would be a place that if you build it, they will come. And so in that vision that he had, he knew if we set up a mosque, that the youths will take that message, and then when they grow up, will then have those values instilled with them and take it on to the next generation.
So one of the first things that Marhum Mehebub did was, before he even became the president, he was instrumental in reviving, or rather reintroducing, a whole new constitution for HIC. The constitution that was there before was worked up until then, but he felt that with a lot of migrants coming from different parts of United States, especially from New York, he thought it would be very beneficial to have a whole new constitution. And he was the instrumental in getting that whole new constitution. And then he stood for the position as the president. Up until then, I did not have any experience whatsoever with Jamaat. I had never been in Jamaat in any capacity before that. I had just moved from New York, and I had never taken any position in New York. He was the person who actually got me into the community. And I remember clearly when he approached me, I thought he had mistaken me for somebody else. I thought he may be after somebody else, and he bumped into me, and he told me, he's like, no, I want you to be my secretary. So very hesitantly I had accepted, because I had no experience, and the Jamaat was just growing at that time. People were moving from different parts of the world. It was just the beginning stage of the wave of migration that was about to happen to Orlando. So during his tenure, one of the thing that Mehebub Manji's vision was, he was the first person who actually started this property research for HIC. And at that time, HIC had just bought the old center. But his vision was that this community is going to grow, and it's going to grow very fast. And this center that we're in will become very small, very quickly. So he started this property research, and he got a few people involved in it. And I clearly remember one of the land that he looked at is where Masjid-Al-Hayy is today. That was one of the land I remember he had brought us to look at it over here. So he was the first person to start the property search committee, which was known as PROCES. The other thing what Marhum Mehebub Manji did was, at that time there were a lot of people who were moving from Dar es Salaam as well, and migrating from place like Dar es Salaam or or East Africa per se, moving to Orlando was very challenging for these families. Marhum Mehebub Manji's vision, I remember, was that he would try and buy a business, whether it is trucking company or whether it is gardening company or something like that, where he would get these people who are looking for a job temporarily, get them involved in this and make them earn money. So they would, his idea was that, let them work in this, let them earn 2 months, 3 months until they find a job. And once they find a job, the second person who comes in will take over. So he was very much about making sure that the community was settled. His thinking, his way of thinking was that we can bring spirituality in people's house, in people's heart, if they themselves are not settled. His idea was, if they are settled, if there is food on the table, if they don't have any worries, spirituality will automatically come. And that's how he was thinking. So that was Marhum Mehebub Manji's some of the vision. I remember clearly he had announced Vision 2000. So he became the president in 1998, and his vision was known as Vision 2000. He wanted to make this community known worldwide by 2000, because at that time when he became the president, not many people knew about Orlando. I remember when we moved here in 97, there were hardly probably 7, 8, 10 families at the most. So he wanted to make sure that by year 2000, people know when people want to move or migrate to United States, Orlando should be their first destination. So that was Marhum Mehebub. He was a person who thought very far-sighted. He wanted to. He could see what the community would be 5, 6, 7 years down the road. He was not a person. He was not the president of a day-to-day operations. He left it to the committee to do it. He was a person who would always look for where this community would be 5 years from now, 7 years from now. How can we make this community bigger and better? And that was Marhum Mehebub Manji.